you wanted to do some kind of video on PlayStation VR2, which you've been testing, and I brought up that showcasing VR in a 2D video doesn't really work. So you decided to describe it to me as you're playing. Is that in order to get around that sort of conceptual issue?
To ruin the illusion, I'm not actually playing now. I've just got the headset on. It's a black screen.
Okay.
But look. Oh, wow. See, I can pretend. It's fairly easy.
So
yeah.
So that's how PSVR2, experientially, that's how it makes you feel. You put it on and you go, oh, wow.
Whoa, it's a waterfall.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa, like that, yeah.
Right. So is that it then? Is that the sell?
That is more or less. I think it is very hard to kind of tell people what VR's like, and then you go, oh, you've got to experience it, and then you can't really, because it's very hard to do that unless you go to some kind of arcade where they charge you £5 for a couple of minutes playing a Rabbids game or something.
Okay. How do you feel about if I tell you that I have tried a few VR headsets, including the original PSVR, including the HTC Vive, including the Oculus, and the problem I have is that they don't fit around my glasses. So to me, it would be a completely useless waste of £500.
I'm just looking at a big dinosaur.
Okay.
All right. Wow.
All right. So what are the pros? So that
I'm wearing glasses right now, Jim.
Are you?
Yeah.
I didn't know you wore glasses.
I always wear glasses.
I don't really talk to you that often, I guess.
And I've got them on inside this headset. It's just fine. It just works.
And it works?
Yeah.
So there's enough room in that visor to accommodate your face and glasses?
This, not sure you can see. You can see my receding hairline, but this button there, you press it and you can slide in and out, right?
Okay, yeah.
And you just fit it. So, I mean, the glasses just go in and it's fine. There's no attachments, there's nothing. It just works.
And you're not having the glasses mashed against your face uncomfortably?
No.
It's fine.
I mean, maybe it would be better without them, but I mean, if I don't wear them, I can't see as clearly, so it's not better.
Okay.
But yeah, it just works. It works fine. Like, certainly, I haven't noticed it as a problem at all.
Okay, for some reason my camera's going mental, so I need to sort that out. So what I find incredible about this is that I have been looking for... the only way I would ever be able to get into VR is if there was ever a headset that properly accommodated my glasses. And some have claimed... Hang on a second. Okay, so one of the big barriers with VR for me is an accessibility one, if you like, because they tend not to accommodate glasses very well. So that's a point in its favor for me. But the second point is that there's a paradox with VR where it's a really expensive product to buy in because the technology is so intricate and expensive to produce, which gives it a naturally very limited user base to start off with, which gives studios less incentive to develop killer apps for it, if you like. So what you usually end up with is a very expensive piece of hardware that has a few really nice tech demos, but the games don't really go any further than that, right? So what is on this headset that's worth spending more money than it actually costs for a PS5 in the first place to get a hold of?
Sorry, I was distracted by all these stars I'm looking at in the galaxy here I'm in. What did you say? Was it like, does it have games?
Yes.
Right, you could have just said that rather than that massive
I was trying to be thorough, and I was trying to be...
Sorry, so yeah, one of the games is No Man's Sky in VR, which has been enhanced for... Obviously, it's like... I think the first PlayStation VR supported it, but the first PlayStation VR was hampered by being a bit naff. And on the PS4, which wasn't like super suited to VR in terms of the power and stuff. Now, everything's a lot better. Everything's a lot sharper. Everything looks much nicer. But it does have games. It has proper games. I mean, if you've played VR before, or you are like a VR user generally, a lot of the stuff that's on PlayStation VR 2, you'd probably already played, right? So that is the issue. I think it's somewhat equivalent to like when you went from, say you went from a PS4 to a PS5, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the games were on both. but you're getting a lot better experience on the newer system, the newer hardware. But you do get stuff that's only on this one, right? So you've got Gran Turismo 7.
Yeah.
I should point out that some of these things I've not been able to play yet because they're not available, right? So Gran Turismo 7, Resident Evil Village, they're both like proper, the full games, right? You play through GT7's got all the like the career mode and everything else, and all the modes, I think, apart from split screen, obviously. Is that a thing, split screen? It's got something missing, but the core game is there, fully playable in VR. Resident Evil 8, the core game, fully playable in VR, which I don't think is available on anything else. So that is a unique thing to this, and that is a full game. Horizon, Call of the Mountain is the showpiece game, I guess. In terms of, it looks incredible. It does feel a bit like they kind of thought, right, how do we pad this out? Let's just make you climb all the time, which is like. It's weird because VR makes fairly boring things fun because you're doing them virtually, which sounds odd, like I'm just climbing a mountain, which is moving my arms up and down, which is like, it works fine and it is fun, but you just do too much of it and then it becomes not fun.
Okay.
But there are games. I think the issue, if you're excited by VR, there's plenty of stuff here. If you're not, there's not really enough to go, wow, I must do it. But I think if you went from, a few like 6 years ago, whenever the first PlayStation VR released, and you went, I'm going to give this a go, that was a little bit underwhelming because you had the limitations of the hardware. You had like the lower res screens. It wasn't as an incredible experience as now. This is proper like, wow, like, I've just played Mario 64 for the first time, levels of incredible, right? It feels like a proper leap, like you just, and it's just being in the world, right? Like I said, Horizon, Call of the Mountain is not the best game ever. Like, it's fine, but it's more about being in that world, which looks amazing, like properly, like, wow, I'm just going to look around. Even the title screen, you just stood still, but you look around at all the environment stuff. You could do that for a few minutes. It's just, it has value just being in those worlds, not doing anything. But then you've got all the bits in it that are just like messing around. Like, you can pick up a tambourine and bash it. You can shake some maracas. You can throw cutlery, bash them up with a hammer. Those things, or pick up some snowballs and throw them. These things are not, like, in a normal game, like a traditional, I've got a controller looking at a TV, you'd be like, is this it, kind of thing. But in VR, that's all good stuff that adds value to the whole experience, like you're in the world doing stuff. I think the main downside to VR is, and this varies from person to person, but I still feel slightly motion sick when I'm playing games that have a lot of like movement, like fast movement in particular. So if you're trying to play a game where you move forward and backwards, left and right strafing kind of thing, and it's too fast, I can get a bit like, sometimes when you look out of a train window and you think your train's moving, but it's actually the other train that's pulled up next to it that's moved, and your brain goes, what the hell is going on? I mean, that's maybe just me that has that experience, but you think you're moving but you're not. That kind of thing. You can feel a bit queasy, but I've had a Quest 2 for quite a while, so I'm more like, when I first got that, I was like, oh my god, this is just too much, like I can't deal with it. But now I'm much better with being in VR. There's a lot of stuff they do to make it better, like they put those, is it a vignette around the edge, so it's darker around the edge of the corners, so that it kind of lessens the immersion slightly, but makes your brain realize that you're not actually there, I guess, so you don't feel as sick. And you can use teleportation to move rather than just whizzing around like you would in a normal first person game, and that lessens the impact as well. But I think you've got to be aware that if you're going to put down the money, that is a risk. Like, you could, but I imagine there's like, if you get sick reading in a car, for example, that kind of thing, I imagine this is going to be somewhat of an issue as well. But you can teach yourself basically to be okay with it, and I think it's worth doing because the experience is that good, essentially. In summary, there's a bunch of old games that you can play in VR if you wish. Yeah, I mean, old, but they are good, like Tetris Effect, right? That's really good. Like Res Infinite, really good VR games, Alright, so there's a bunch of old games you can play on it if you wish. There's a couple of bespoke games that
aren't really that good.
I'm just vibing to Tetris at the moment.
It costs £530 and it might make you ill.
I mean, as like a very negative spin,
and yet
Jim,
you still recommend it.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because if you know that going in, you're not going to be quite as like, oh, I'm just going to whiz around and blast some stuff, because then you will struggle. But I think if you kind of ease in, I think it is well worth it.
What you're saying is, if you bear in mind that it's crap.
No, Jim.
It's
no, you've twisted what I've said. It's not that at all. It's incredible, right? Like, when it's one of these things, like,
okay,
everyone says, oh, my jaw dropped right when I played this game. Most people's jaw does not drop when they play video games. It's just, that's hyperbole, right? It's just for effect. But my jaw didn't drop playing VR, but you do get the moment you're like, wow, like, you're just literally looking around and you just like, you are there in this whatever virtual world. Everyone wants that new leap, right? And this is it. This is a leap. We don't get that anymore.
I
really
sympathize with your position. I really do, right? But you know, VR is something that even its proponents, when they're trying to convince you that a product is worth,
so I'm looking down over a cliff edge. When
they're trying to convince you that a product is worth £530, still, you still can't help yourself but caveat it, Tom. There's so many caveats. There's so many.
That's because I want people to be. I could ignore all those things and go, it's incredible, right? Get it, which it is, and I do recommend. If you are interested in VR, and you've got the money, and some people do, right? Some people blow money on like all loads of rubbish, right? And they've got money coming out of everywhere. If you're one of these people, give it a go. VR is probably one of the last leaps forward in games, right? You get, like, we've got systems that come out and you get better graphics. You get like a few little rumbles on a controller. Great. I mean, I should point out that the haptics, which are like the feedback stuff on this, is excellent on the controller. You get the same, like you get on the DualSense with the it feels like you're actually doing something rather than just clicking a button. You get the headset itself has a little, so if I knock something, it will do like it actually taps a bit, so it feels like I'm actually there a bit more. And the other thing is, like, you need a lot of space, right? Like I had this set up in my living room, and which is a fairly standard living room in what would have been like a 3-bed semi-detached house. Not massive, not tiny, but once you've got like the TV cabinet, the sofas, the kids' toys and stuff, suddenly your free space in there is much smaller. And some games which have this thing called room scale, where you can actually move about more in the space, and that's the game is designed around that. One of the best launch games is What the Bat, which is essentially a collection of puzzle mini games where you have bats for hands, and you just have to solve all these puzzles, but you have to move around the environment a bit within each of these sort of levels, and you need 2 meters by 2 meters, which doesn't sound much. You try and make a 2 meter by 2 meter block of space in your play area room, and it is hard. Like, I had to pretend that I had to make the VR think that the sofas weren't there, basically.
I don't think I own a 2 meter square space.
I mean, most games are fine with 1 by 1, and you can play a lot of games sitting down or standing still completely, and you just have to kind of just lean around, move your arms a bit. But the room scale stuff, you do need more space, which is going to be an issue for some people.
I mean, we know it's difficult to demo, because that's why we've got you just sitting wearing it unnecessarily on a webcam.
I'm seeing all the VR worlds. I should point out, there's no demo disc. That is, if you go back, if you had a PlayStation VR,
it's not even a demo disc.
It came with like a disc, or I can't remember if it was downloads or a disc something, that let you have little experiences, right? There was like seeing a big whale, I think it was, and there were a few other things. And this time, there's nothing, which is a bit of a shame, because I think even like the Oculus or the Meta Quest 2, whatever it's called now, it comes with like a little intro to VR where you just like mess around and like shoot some stuff and then launch some rockets and things, and it feels like, all right, that's VR, I get it now, and you get an ease into it. There's none of that here, which is a shame, because I think they could have done something like there's no AstroBot or anything, like the PS5 bundle game, which was a really good intro to that system. And
that feels like a bit of an oversight, considering one of the best things on the original PSVR was the AstroBot game, allegedly. So you think it's worth £530?
Well, that
plus whatever it costs to put a game on it.
That is the thing, right? For you, not you, but you, the listener, viewer, if you have that money, then yes. If you're like, if I've been saving all my pennies and pounds for ages, I'm like, to buy something cool, would I recommend this over, like, I don't know, a Steam Deck? Probably not, but they're different things. Like Steam Deck is the same stuff, but playing it in a different place. This is completely like a different experience. And I think if you are like someone, if you've been playing games for a while and you're like, everything's the same now, it's just better graphics, right? Which is the thing that lots of people think. VR is one of the only things I can think of where you're actually getting that new sense, that new experience that you're not going to get just by playing on your PS5.
So you're saying that you'd recommend it, but only if you don't already have a Steam Deck?
Yeah. I know you're trying to twist me, Jim, to say things.
I'm not trying to twist you. I'm just
trying to make me sound negative.
I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to find a through line. I'm just, The
through line is, if you've got the money, and like, I think if you spent this, I think if you were like, someone is like, I don't know, like, you're not like £500 is proper, like, it's a lot of money. It's more than the PS5 costs, right? Certainly now when they're available. That's a lot to spend. Like, you could spend that on all manner of things. I don't know, like a good iPad, for example. If you've been like, it's a different experience, obviously, but it's a luxury item, this. And I think if you're in that market where you do buy luxury items, you buy a new iPad every year, you've got like the latest noise cancelling headphones, you buy the £300 Lego sets, whatever, you're that kind of person, then this is worth it. Like, this is definitely like, it's something that you're not going to be able to replicate anywhere else other than obviously another high-end PC VR headset. Okay,
so it's recommended for rich VR enthusiasts who don't already have a Steam Deck.
You don't have to be an enthusiast yet, but you have to be wanting something new.
Well, I don't want anything new, so...
Right, Jim, just go and watch Picard Season 3 and moan about it all day. That's fine. You do you. Other people can enjoy a new gaming experience.
It's not new. The way is it? It's got a number 2 on the end.
Yeah, but this is... The first one was like... This is like baby steps. This is like... That's like if you played, my first 3D game was Bugsy 3D, right?
All right.
This is like, I've just played Mario 64 the first time. I stand by that. It is incredible.
So it's as good as Mario 64.
Yeah.
All right. So is it available now?
It's available from the 22nd of February, I think.
It's available from the 22nd of February. It costs £530 and doesn't have any games bundled with it. Is that correct?
You can get a bundle with Horizon, but that does cost more. Thing is, a lot of the VR games they're not full price, right? So you can get quite a few underpriced. If you do have,
because they're all tech demos.
No, Jim.
It's because this thing doesn't have any killer apps,
there's
and it'll never have any killer apps because only 5 people are going to buy it. Because
Gran Turismo 7 is a full game. Resident Evil 8 is a full game. Horizon is a full game.
Yeah, but you can play that without...
Tetris Effect is a full game. Resident Infinite is a full game. They're all full games. There's loads of full games. Even like What the Bat, which is
Tetris is a Game Boy game, Tom, and we don't want to get into that because you've had a lot of stick about that.
It's a separate thing.
So, all right, okay. Well, the tech is very impressive, and it's very expensive, and nobody needs it.
Jim.
I've been Jim Trinker for VG247, and you should definitely like and subscribe, because if you don't, you smell. Check out the website, check out the podcast, check it all out. Check it out like it's Supermarket Sweet, man. I'll speak to you later.